much it. It's crazy, dude. It takes a fuckload of money to have a setup like this. So.
Oh, we are live.
I don't know how much it was, but yeah, there we go. We are live.
Hell yeah.
All right. One thing real quick. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I just need to change some stuff here. Okay, yeah. All right. Oh, we are live. We got an audience in the house.
Nice.
They'll be off screen. Y'all don't need to worry about it. So welcome everybody to another episode of the Haph-Ast podcast. I am your host, Carlos.
I am the other host, Joaquin.
And what were you gonna say?
I don't know. I heard you go. So.
Oh, that was because of the beer.
Oh, okay, my bad.
But
yeah, and today we are discussing and reviewing Dragged Across Concrete. I don't know if you want to.
Oh yeah, we got the movie here. We got physical copies because that's how we roll. Like I think almost every movie we've talked about, we've had a physical copy.
Yeah, I prefer.
I have some over there, but yeah. So you let me borrow this one. You bought it last month?
No, maybe like a couple weeks ago, like probably the week before I gave it to you.
Okay.
I just hadn't watched it yet.
Now, before we start, there is some stuff we wanted to do before because I do have some questions about the movie that we'll get to when we get to all that. But you saw Detective Pikachu.
Oh yeah, I today's Friday. Saw it yesterday. 9 o'clock showing. Pretty fun. Basically gonna give like a quick spoiler-free review. I liked it. It's fun. It's cute. It's adorable. The Pokemon actually, it makes you want to live in that world. Like, I was expecting like, I don't know what I was expecting, honestly. It was just seeing the designs. They don't really like, they didn't really connect with me, but then seeing it on the screen, on the big screen and them, running around, like I fell in love. I felt like I was a little kid again.
Would you want to watch a show like that?
Yeah, actually. Well, they kind of did that thing where it's not just called like Detective Pikachu. It has like the title above it says Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So it's kind of like
so they can do more, basically.
It's kind of like when they did like the Twilight movies and it says Twilight and then it says like the next name of like whatever the part 2, 3, 4 or the Hunger Games, how it says the Hunger Games and it has like the subtitle. They basically did that.
Yeah. This
movie does a lot of world building, which surprised me at how well it kind of, it basically what it did like in regarding to the video games that we've all played.
Yeah.
I stopped playing after I think, what is it? Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah, I think Pearl's the last one.
Yeah, and so I was seeing things on screen. I was like, "What the hell is that?" Because I've been out of the loop, So
yeah,
they were just seeing them on this big screen. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
And, that being said, the movie's not great. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Story wise, the third act just goes into some weird places. That's I wouldn't say bad, but it tries to it really tries its best to make it make sense. But I think my big thing is it doesn't know what its audience is.
Okay, so does it feel like
it wants
Ready Player One? Like
it wants to be aimed towards children, but it's throwing some. They straight up throw like a cocaine joke in there, and it's like, oh, that came out of nowhere.
It's for kids.
Yeah, and so it's giving I guess the audience or both audiences something like people that grew up with it. Yeah, they know what coke is.
This is kind of like what we talked about last time with the whole Sonic thing. It's like it's for kids, but like
Yeah.
who's really gonna watch it? Who's really gonna go to the
It's,
theater and watch
well,
it?
apparently the only people that were really upset about it were the adults. So.
Well, it's the parents who are gonna take their kids, basically.
There was
so-
a grown ass man dressed like Misty over there, dude. It was a bit much. I saw him. I was like,
Oh no.
that's a sight. I respect it, but all right.
walked
But
around him.
they were like adults with their little stuffed Pikachus,
Yeah.
and
Not surprised.
like, go ahead, you know. Like,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
yeah, just to keep it short, if you're looking for a solid story, this ain't it. But if you're looking for fun, wholesome world building that makes you want to live in a world other than this, god awful one we live in, go check it out because it's a lot of fun. Right, I was gonna call him Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds.
I forgot he did the voice.
Yeah. You feel like it almost feels like a PG Deadpool because just a little wisecracking rat or whatever you want.
Okay.
But yeah, it's worth the watch.
Cool. And that's coming out like just
That came out today. So
Okay.
May 10th.
Because I know you always pretty much go see things early, so
Yeah.
it's like I know it's not out.
And
But
I didn't
it
realize
is now.
John Wick is supposedly next week. Supposedly,
I want to watch it.
it had like they had a big banner. Is like
I didn't think it was that soon. 'cause
I
remember
thought
we
it
saw
was like
trailers for
late.
it.
I thought it was like May or June, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I didn't know it was gonna be Detective Pikachu, John Wick, and then Godzilla
Yeah.
3 weeks in a row.
It's gonna be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so
But
go
we
see Detective Pikachu, even though it's not that great of a story.
I mean, when you're going to watch a movie called Detective Pikachu, you kind of know.
I mean, like, yeah, but still, like, there's that whole thing about like, video game movies aren't, or there's never been a good adaptation of a video game.
Yeah.
This is it.
Okay.
Even though I like Doom.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. I mean, when you're going really to watch any type of movie like that, you're not really going for the story. You're going for entertainment, really.
Yeah.
That's mostly what you're going there.
It's pure entertainment.
That's what you're gonna get.
Pure entertainment.
And if that's what you get, I mean,
Literally,
that's what you paid for.
Dude, literally it's not a spoiler, but literally the first Pokemon you see is a crying Cubone, and it just like my heart just like was feeling things that I don't think I've felt since I was a child, and so it makes me enjoy the movies.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
watch
Though.
it.
So yeah, if y'all want to watch Detective Pikachu, go for it.
But
Recommend.
aside from that, I don't know if you've been watching anything or keeping up with anything or
No.
but
Here the only thing I've seen recently, aside from this movie, Dragged Across Concrete, can't even say it, is another movie done by the same writer director.
okay, so you did a little homework.
A little bit. Like I looked into him, what he's done, and his IMDb is like
It's
all over the place. But you told me about this movie.
yeah.
And knowing absolutely nothing about it, I looked up the director, which turns out writer-director. He's also done Bone Tomahawk, which I had already seen in the past, which
And
you told me about.
and rules.
And I really enjoyed. And then he did another movie, which was Brawl in Cell Block 99,
yeah.
which was another good one. And both are free on Amazon, which that helped.
Oh, I didn't even realize Bone Tomahawk was on there.
Yeah, no, I posted something on the Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Showing
Yeah, yeah.
the movies on there.
What was available?
Both of those are. This one is not. Dragged Across Concrete is not free. I think it's because it's so new.
Yeah. Okay. But
But
normally doesn't Amazon have like rentals on there?
yeah, no, you can rent it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Which
that's not that bad.
that's
then.
kind of what I told everybody to do if they wanted to keep up with the conversation. Is just rent it, watch it. I mean, it's
It's honestly, it's like before we get into the review, it's very much worth the watch, especially
Yeah.
if you are a fan of S. Craig Zahler and his work. So
yeah, and well, the one I had seen before is Brawl. So Brawl in Cell Block 99, like the main focus is on Vince Vaughn and his character. I forget what his name is in the movie, but
I think it's Thomas something.
Yeah,
I could be mistaken, but
my thing though is like watching that movie made me really question why we hadn't seen a movie with Vince Vaughn playing that type of character or anything similar before, because he did such a good job in that movie that I was like, why hasn't this happened before? Like, why haven't we gotten this?
You know what? It was the first time, like, I think it was the first time I saw someone actually use Vince Vaughn's size to like his his height and like he's a tall guy, like he's I think 6 something, but he's big
and he looks big.
They use his height to like his advantage in this movie, and he towers over other inmates, other characters, and he looks like a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he looks like a really
and he
tough
is
dude.
a force to be reckoned with in this movie.
Yeah, he really, really is. Which, growing up, all I could think about when I thought of Vince Vaughn was just
Old
comedies.
school.
Yeah, and I was never the biggest fan of any of those movies.
No,
like they were just like throwaway movies you're just gonna watch during the summer anyway. And this one, I enjoy dark movies. I enjoy crime movies. Everything S. Craig Zahler's done, or Zahler, however you say his name, Zahler, is both of those. Well, Bone Tomahawk isn't, but it's really dark.
But that's a good Western too.
It's a good. It's like,
and I'm a sucker for a Western.
Yeah.
So.
See, me and Zach were talking about this, and it's the pretty good mix of two genres.
Yes.
Western and horror. Because this is a horror movie. Yeah, Bone Tomahawk is a horror movie.
It opens up with horror and it ultimately ends with horror. So
yeah, and both movies are pretty gory, and this one had its moments, but was a lot more toned down. And I think that shows more of the director's development in terms of how he wants to show everything, because there's one aspect about this movie that I enjoy that the others don't. The violence in this one is very subdued, but it is sudden, and it really it's not fun to watch in that split second.
I think that's what he does well though. Like it happens in Bone Tomahawk. Yeah. And there's like, I think something happens to a hand or something happens. Yeah. Just I think the initial, like, the opening scene, someone gets got, and with the way it happens so sudden, and you're just kind of like, whoa, what the heck was that? And then when you think it's like that's as like gratuitous as it's gonna get. Yeah. And there's some straight up dismemberment in that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
And it gets to like as extreme as I thought a movie can get. Yeah. And then I watched Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Yeah, I know.
And the opening where he's, going full Street Fighter on this car. And just beating it up. That was something, like, it felt real. Like, it was him just, punching a car.
It literally just was him punching a car and like
he's punching a windshield out, or like not a windshield, but like the the driver's side window. And it takes multiple punches for him to punch this thing out, and I was like, dude, that's real.
It was like he was there, like messing up that. It looked like he got hurt doing it too. And then when he like pulls out the light from the front, I was like, what is going on here? It was a trip.
But
let's do it like this then. So initial thoughts after watching the movie.
After watching Dragged Across Concrete.
Dragged Across Concrete.
It honestly solidified my love for his work. Like we just said, big fan of Bone, big fan of Brawl, and now Dragged. I think I went in expecting like a real like Dirty Harry kind of movie, and I didn't get that.
Yeah, I think that's
But
what I expected too.
what I got was this, and I think that's what he's so good at doing is like he takes characters, he doesn't world build, he just takes these
I think
characters
you had to in this scenario.
almost, but like I feel like 90% of the movie like is just them on a stakeout.
Yeah,
And what it's like them just sitting in the car, and it's them like I I laughed because I know that like I know what these guys order. Like
yeah.
like
Like you're
he's-
closer to them than most people would be because you're stuck with them the whole time.
yeah, and
But it does really show you their characters
yeah, it
more so than other movies.
you understand where they come from,
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
and getting into the problematic stuff regarding some actors in the movie.
Yeah.
You totally believe that they're these like men that have issues with the world.
Yeah. And I think he used Mel Gibson specifically because of that.
Yeah,
Not only is he a good actor, but that kind of carries over into the movie.
I feel like I want to say it's almost like it was like made for him, but I was watching the features on the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And there's a featurette, and I believe it's either the first or second one on there. It's a 3-part one, and Mel Gibson is talking about how when he read the script, the first person he called was Vince Vaughn and asked if he can get signed onto this movie or talk to someone to get involved in this movie. And he wanted to play this role.
Yeah.
And you watch it and it's
Yeah.
some dark stuff, and
yeah, they're both meant to be in this role.
We'll get more into like how I feel about his character and spoilers, but the way he plays this character, I think he's one of my favorite characters I've seen like written on screen in a long time.
He is, and that's one thing. It's a thought that came to mind halfway through the movie. And then after doing all the research on the director, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Mm-hmm. Now, I've told you in the past, watching Drive, the movie Drive, is like watching an anime, like a live action anime. Because of the way it looks, the way like the shots look, the way everybody kind of does their like long pauses, some of the dialogue, like it feels very anime to me.
Yeah.
You know what this movie feels like to me? It feels like I'm watching a book I'm reading. And that's how the dialogue came off. That's how a lot of the scenarios came off. That's how like the build up and just the settings feel like to me.
I don't know exactly, and I need to double check, but when I had first watched Brawl in Cell Block 99, I was like, I need to know more about this guy. And so I actually did like did some research on him, and I did find out at the time that he wrote novels.
Yeah.
And one of the ones, because I actually do remember, because I remember going into a Barnes and Noble and seeing if I could like somehow find one. And apparently they're like, you have to like order them specifically online or through some distributor or something like that. But I'm pretty sure Dragged Across. It's so hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Dragged Across Concrete is a adaptation of one of his novels.
Yeah.
And reading up on him and watching the featurettes, apparently his scripts, he wants them. He's a perfectionist when it comes to them. There's not a lot of improvisation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
it's basically whatever he writes. That's what.
So when you watch his movies and you hear that dialogue, and it sounds like, or as you say, like it felt like you were, watching something like from a book come to life. It's because that dialogue is written almost as a novel. Like his scripts, they're big scripts. They're not. They're
very, very.
They're not like
dialogue.
Yeah, like it's not like exposition here. This that is. He's writing full detailed. Pages about the scene and what's going on in the scene, and he's giving those cinematographers something to work with, and you see it in these movies. Like they're not the prettiest, but
they don't have to.
They don't like. They're not.
Really,
I don't think they're trying to be. It's he uses the dark where it should be dark.
Yeah,
and then when there's light, somehow he manages to put the dark in there too.
Yeah, I think whatever he writes translate to the screen very well. This is actually one point I wanted to touch on. When it comes to writing scripts, and then you have the actual finished movie, there aren't a lot of times where the script that the director and the actors and everybody reads is what's going to be on film.
Yeah.
I have a feeling his probably are, because he's gone through so many revisions. And I mean, he's the writer and director. He kind of knows what direction he wants to go. So that's going to translate almost perfectly. But the thing about it is, there's a lot of people that get in the way of that process.
Uh-huh.
And I know of one author. His name's Andrew Clavin.
Okay.
He wrote a book that I read.
That name sounds familiar, actually.
He wrote True Crime. And he wrote A Shock to the System with Michael Caine.
Oh, okay.
He wrote those things, and he talked about one in particular, and it turned out to be a terrible movie. And he was basically telling why in his podcast. He wrote One Missed Call. Terrible movie.
What is it?
Yes.
Have you checked the children?
Yes. He wrote this movie where he said, what I gave them was a good script. Like this way he does. Like he gets paid to write.
Is that the original like 80 When a Stranger Calls, or is it One Missed Call?
One Missed Call.
What's that one then? Hold on.
There was like in the 20-somethings, I don't remember when it came out.
Oh, that's something else then.
It doesn't really matter, the movie. It turned out really bad. It was a flop. Nobody wanted to watch it. The reason he says is because he wrote a script and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue was witty. The actors were like kids, because the movie was basically geared towards kids. It's a horror movie. Who's going to watch it in the summer? Kids. They basically complained saying, kids don't talk like this. Kids aren't this witty. This isn't realistic. We need to change this. The director had his own thoughts about how the movie should go, what needs to be said, what is important. So they basically tore his script apart.
Okay.
They changed all the dialogue. They changed the way things are going. He's like, I gave them a good script. They tore it apart.
It's what happens now. Like you see a lot now.
This movie, the dialogue is not realistic.
Yeah.
But it is better than realistic.
Yeah. He says that he has Final Cut of his movies. So
wait, I thought you meant like Final Cut Pro.
Oh no!
It's like,
I'd probably believe that too.
Probably, maybe.
But yeah, he says when it comes to like his movies and the finished product, he has the final cut, and it's his movie the way he wants. So whatever you see, it's not a mistake. It's everything's deliberate,
and it definitely feels that way.
Very, very much.
But he does such a good job that I don't really have any problems in terms of the way the movies turn out. Like there's nothing that doesn't make sense. Like everything makes sense. Everything I'm seeing for a reason. Everything I'm hearing in terms of like the dialogue and the lines that they give is for a reason. Like there's nothing that seems extra. There's nothing that seems tacked on.
No, there's not a lot of what's the word? There's not a lot of like empty scenes. Like definitely.
Ultimately,
like every little scene counts, and every little scene pays off in a way that it's meant to be there for a specific reason.
Yeah, pretty
And,
much. I think that's why they're so good, though.
So, like, when it comes to dragged, there is one in particular sequence
Mhm.
involving a character, Jennifer Carpenter's character, and it really did throw me off because I think it was just because I didn't expect it to play out the way it played out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it took me out of the movie or took me away from the movie, but it was just, it was something I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And for a while, it felt really out of place.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking more about it and where like other characters lead from that point on.
Yeah.
And that's when it started to like kind of click. Like,
Yeah.
no, we did need that scene for this specific reason.
That scene in particular, once that scene was over, I was like, oh, this guy writes novels. That felt like the beginning of the chapter, like when she's out there on the bus stop, and just waiting. That's where that chapter would start, and the end is when that scene is over.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's not there to throw you off. It's not there to confuse you. It's there for that particular reason. It's just not clear for you in the beginning.
And like I guess in the moment,
but it does exactly what it's meant to do. And it's perfect. It's just so good. It's so sad though. Are we gonna?
Do you want to get into spoilers regarding it? We can kind of like talk bit by bit through.
Quick overview. The movie's really good. The cast is really good. The music's really good, and we can talk about that more. It's hard for me to think of what I didn't like about the movie, because there's very, very little. I did read some stuff online in terms of like there are some like shots taken with like a gun. There's some physics that are a little iffy. I bought most of it. I didn't care.
One of the like, before we get into spoilers, but there's a scene regarding a liquor store.
Yes.
And the gunfire goes off in the store, and I was like, oh my God, did they really like shoot this place up? Because it looked and felt real. Like it didn't feel like those like oh, we had like pops going off here.
I think it was the angle.
Yeah.
I think it was the static just shot where he's just standing there and just
spraying it up.
It was like, it felt very real because it's not like a oh, you see somebody shoot and then we cut to whatever is getting hit.
A flash,
like this was just straight
it was just like
and then we see the actual damage being done. That felt real. Mm-hmm. That might be why they did it too, because I have a few like thoughts on why that scene was there and why he did that, because it's very, very confusing at the start. But we getting into full spoilers now?
Yeah, well, we can get in because there's some stuff more towards the end that I want to start bringing up.
Yeah, because there's a lot in this that I want to talk about, and we'll basically start from the beginning.
Yeah,
just go all the way through the end.
That works.
So what's the very, very first thing that happens?
It opens with the sex scene.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it's the character played by Tory Kittles.
Yeah,
he's I think his name is, or is that what he goes by?
It's like the nickname that the bad guys gave him. I don't remember
Henry. His name was Henry Johns.
Henry, yeah.
So Henry Johns, I believe he just gets out of prison.
Yeah, and it doesn't start with that. Like it just goes straight into the whole sex scene.
It's them finishing up, and then how he misses a woman's touch, and we're introduced to Michael J. White's character.
That's afterwards.
Is it afterwards?
There's something else in that scene that I do want to touch on. when he's with the girl, he says something
that he knew her.
that he knew her. Well, they both knew each other. They basically like know each other from school.
Yeah.
He basically said that back then he liked her, and she says that she liked him. And if he'd have known that, things would have gotten a lot different.
Oh, okay.
That basically like
That's like
lays the foundation for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch that
No, that's true.
until like I started thinking about the movie.
That plays out towards the scenes towards the very end with Mel Gibson's character and him. So.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. So after that, we're introduced. He leaves.
He leaves.
We're introduced to.
He drops his friend Michael J. White's character.
Yeah.
Biscuit was, I believe, his name. He drops him off at his mom's apartment.
Yeah, and on his way, he basically like tells him like there's a job.
Yeah, he has some work for him if he needs it. And he goes home. He finds his mom is pulling tricks. It's his brother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, his brother's in a wheelchair. And I don't know if that was a pre-existing condition before he went in.
Probably.
But they got the bill collectors. They have bad stuff going on. They have, money issues.
They're living in a pretty poor area.
Yeah. And he basically says that he's going to do something about it.
Yeah.
Which leads that we're left we leave his character there.
Yeah, we just know he's going to do a job. He needs to get money.
Yeah. Basically. And we're introduced to Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn's character, Brett Ridgman and Anthony Lurisetti.
Yeah.
And again, what I mentioned before about how I felt like 90% of this movie is a stakeout movie. It opens up essentially with a stakeout.
Yeah, they basically are just sitting out of this dude's apartment.
Yeah, they're on the catwalk.
They're just waiting. That's all they're doing is waiting. We don't even know what they're doing there.
Lurisetti's character, Vince Vaughn, is coming up the catwalk with a single cup of coffee. I love this part.
That made me laugh.
He says, Ridgman, Mel Gibson says, he asks where his coffee is. And, oh, it's spilt on the way. You can hear about mine. And this is already just introducing us to these characters that just you want to like them. Yeah. Just based off charm.
They're hilarious.
But that kind of quickly just turns a 180 when they go into they know of this guy who took a duffel bag into this room. Yeah. And they want the duffel bag, essentially. This is a bus. I think it was drugs. It was drugs.
So they're basically waiting outside. They have somebody undercover go in the building, try to get in through the front door by claiming to be like
he was a plumber.
A plumber. There you go. And so that whole plan goes off. This guy tries to sneak out the window, and they're just waiting there again at the catwalk, just chilling. He comes out. They stop him. Step on him.
He breaks his nose.
They really mess him up.
They go inside. He tells them that there's a woman in the room, and she's over in the shower, like the shower area, with her purse, and looks like she's like scrambling for something. Turns out there's a gun. Yeah. Take the gun away. Before he even does that, and tells her to step outside, he like turns the cold water on her. And we're establishing the fact that these guys, as likable as they may seem, they're essentially not good guys. Yeah. And he tells her to step out of the shower. Yeah. And he's going to ask her where these drugs are.
They turn on the fan, they turn on the AC and whatnot.
And so, they turn it on and they just drop that temperature on her.
This is one thing I found funny is when they're questioning her. She has like a thick accent.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're just like looking back and forth at each other, like she's not giving them the answers that they want,
and they're just like,
and they're just pretending that they
Yeah.
don't understand anything she's saying.
I don't understand what you're saying. Or, do you
thought that was
understand what
funny.
she's saying? I didn't understand a word she said.
Now, two things ran through my mind when I saw that scene. Number one, Mel Gibson's character has done this before.
Yeah. Well, I think both of them, they just know right away.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know if Vince Vaughn's character has, but I know Mel Gibson's character has done that before.
yeah.
Because that's foresight, basically. Like, oh, okay, she's probably not gonna tell us real quick. I know what to do. Like, we've done this before. And what was the second thing? So yes, they've done that before. Number two is they're willing to do things that most other people won't.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. As bad as that was, it wasn't torture.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been, yeah. Because nobody else was there to watch them.
Yeah, they were. Was the detective, the other one, the one that was the plumber.
Yeah.
He stepped outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was watching the other guy on the catwalk.
So they, in both situations, on the catwalk and in here with her, they've had opportunity to like take it really far, but they
don't.
didn't.
And they decided to go to breakfast after this.
Yeah.
And they're called in as soon as they get their meal. This is something too that I liked about the writing was when they get their food, they sit down, they're about to eat, they both get the call, and they ask the waitress to box their food, and she comes back and she's like, "You want me to box up the food I just brought from way over there all the way over here for you?" And they're just like, yeah. And it's in any other script, it'd probably just be cut out.
Yeah.
But the way it works, it just works. Like you establish these characters, like
Yeah,
they're
it's not
just-
extra.
yeah, they're bad, but they have this charm to them.
Yeah.
And so they get called into their lieutenant. He's the lieutenant, right, or the chief?
Something like that. I don't know how. It works.
Chief. He's chief lieutenant.
Chief lieutenant.
Chief Lieutenant Calvert, played by Don Johnson
Yeah.
from Bone Tomahawk.
Yep.
And he basically says that someone in the apartment complex was recording them as they broke the guy's nose on the catwalk,
And
showing some excessive force.
yeah, this is something that also like it doesn't feel out of place
No.
because I mean stuff like that happens a lot.
Well, I mean, look at today's climate too. Like that, in any other movie, you could see that it probably would have been violent. Like it could have been, the excessive force, and they shot someone, or
Yeah.
they.
This isn't one like lifting their leg up and smashing.
Yeah,
it on the
this
floor.
isn't-
This was
this-
very quick.
He literally just like you could really see that happening as an officer just putting his knee up against the back of a perp's head
Yeah.
while they're on the ground. I've seen it before. I've seen it in person, like something like that happen,
Yeah.
and it's like you do what you need to do to detain someone. And
Yeah. And this is definitely like one of those callbacks to something you've probably seen or at least heard of.
yeah. And so from there they get, was it a 6-week suspension?
It's I think so. I know it's a
It's-
suspension without pay.
I believe it's a 6-week suspension, no pay.
Yeah.
And they give up their badge, their gun, and Lurisetti's character leaves the office, and we find out that Calvert and Ridgman were previously partners.
Mm-hmm.
And he understands that what Ridgman does is necessary for the job. It's just the fact that he got caught.
Yeah.
And he just wants him to make sure he's in line because they both had a similar path. except one's chief of police and the other one's still a 27 plus year detective.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to there's more to it, but that's kind of like the start. The whole 27-year thing in seeing Calvert's character where he's at is kind of like the initial thing that kind of drives Mel Gibson to make the decision that he makes in the next couple scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it even says like he's had chances to move up, but there's certain things he's unwilling to do.
Yeah.
In terms of politicking and essentially giving up a certain way of doing things for a more pre-approved, almost weaker way of doing things, because he wouldn't be out there, he'd be inside, he'd be doing less of the actual police work and more of bureaucracy.
He flat out, I think, even says that he's very old-fashioned when it comes to his work and his methods,
and he's he's not willing to change.
Yeah,
like he explicitly
he
says
knows what needs like Don Johnson says, his Calvert's character, that he knows what needs to get done to get what they need out of these guys.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that he got caught. And from there, do we go to the scene with his daughter? The kid on the bike?
I don't know if it's directly there, but I know at some point, I'm just going to do this one, but at some point, Henry's character and Michael Jai White's character are in a car. And this is where the gun thing happens.
I don't remember this part.
Henry's character asks Michael Jai White, what was his name, Biscuit?
Yeah, Biscuit.
He asked him to get some guns because they're gonna do a job.
Okay, yes,
but he asked specifically to get these guns wrapped up in what just looks like
it looks cellophane,
like cellophane, yeah. And he's confused as to why. And I think this shows Henry's character more than anybody else, and it shows how much people will underestimate him for the rest of the movie, because he not only gets the guns wrapped in cellophane, which I don't know if this is something he learned while he was in jail or something he learned beforehand, because I have a feeling it's something he learned while he was away, because had he known that, he probably would have used it. And it's something weird. Like, it doesn't sound like a normal thing I've ever heard anybody do, even in any other like crime show.
Yeah, that was the first time I've seen that.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, which is again why I think he probably learned it while he was away. He does that specifically so he doesn't have to wear gloves, because not in every situation are you gonna have gloves, and it's just something you can unwrap and throw away quickly. Like he's definitely thought about what he needs to do and how to get away with it.
Quick scenarios.
Quickly, yeah. And he basically tells Biscuit to stash these guns in the getaway car. Like, he already knows however things go, he's going to use them. So he probably already knows at this point that he's going to rob the guys that they're going to work with.
Yeah.
Or in case they need them.
In
case things go bad, like, they'll have something. So I was like,
things happen.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was something I know I was obviously watching it, but I think something might have I remember the cellophane, but I don't remember the drive, like, which is weird.
Yeah. They don't drive anywhere. I think Biscuit just meets him at like parking lot of their apartment.
Oh, okay.
Because they just have a conversation in the car. And then we're introduced to both Richmond and Anthony's family.
Melanie and I forget the daughter's name.
Yeah, so the daughter, we see her the first time we see her, she's walking home.
Melanie and Sarah.
Yeah,
Sarah's the daughter.
So Sarah's walking home, and I thought they were going to introduce somebody else.
Yeah,
completely new. and which they did, but I thought it was gonna be somebody else,
like
more important to the
more
story.
yeah, more in regards to what's going on
Yeah.
with the leads.
So we see her; she's just walking down the street, and
Kid pours soda on her.
Yeah, this I was like,
It's kind of like a random act of violence, or is that technically violence?
see, that's one thing.
It's like bullying, I guess.
Yeah, it's more bullying than anything. It is violence,
Yeah.
and it is technically assault, but that word seems a little too much for what happened because she did just get like soda poured on her head.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't anything worse than that.
And we find out that this is the 5th time in 2 years that like something along these lines has happened to her. Yeah. She comes home. The wife or her mother, you see her walking up to her with the cane.
Yes.
And it's revealed. I don't know. I don't remember if it was in these scenes right here or later when he's having a beer with her in the kitchen, and she's taking some meds.
Yeah.
I don't think they explicitly say what the meds are.
Not at this point.
And
but
it's okay, yeah. So we find out real late in the film as to what's going on with her.
Yeah.
But there is something going on. They're in this tiny apartment.
Yeah.
And it's not the best living condition.
And we also learned that she used to be a cop.
Oh yeah. So you get that they know the streets, they know the beat.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, this is where Mel's character basically tells her, like, I got suspended, no pay. We need to do something for money because she's not working.
Yeah.
From what it looked like. She just kind of stays home because she can't. She's got MS.
Yeah.
And she's walking around with a cane. She can't really do much. So he basically tells her, like, I'm going to have to do something to make money. We're not going to talk about it. Probably because if she knew, then they'd be able to, like, squeeze it out of her at some point. So, like, the less she knows, the better. Not only for that reason, but because, like, you don't want to know what I'm going to have to do to get money. And she doesn't seem to object. No. She's like...
She knows something needs to be done.
Yeah.
She knows that this suspension comes at the worst possible time for everyone.
Yeah. And then move over to Vince Vaughn's character.
He's picking up a wedding ring.
Yeah, an engagement ring.
And he knows right away too that he has these money problems as well. This is coming at a time where he really wants to, make this relationship work and go to the next step.
Yeah.
And he does take it.
He does take the ring.
He does take.
I think he'd already paid for it at that point.
He knows what he has to do. And does it cut to a dinner scene, or is that a scene come later with them? With
him and his fiance?
His girlfriend.
It comes very soon after. I don't know how soon after, but it does come not too far after. What exactly happens with them? Because I know they have a conversation about his suspension and then her work.
I don't recall, to be honest. He basically says that he's gonna do something about it. He just doesn't know what. And
she basically tells him to, like,
in his case, in his case, he knows that what he does isn't. He's not gonna go to the extremes as Richmond is gonna go, but he will do something about it.
Yeah, you can see not necessarily desperation, but definitely a loss of some hope.
Something that kind of popped into my head right now too. I want to go back to Henry's character. Yeah, we totally forgot the scene, or after he kicks out the trick from the apartment. Yeah, when he talks to his brother, and they sit there and play video games. and he's playing a game called
Shotgun
Safari.
Yeah.
And they're hunting lions. He puts it on pause and decides he's gonna play later with him.
Yeah.
And that's when we cut to who is it? We cut back to Vince Vaughn or someone.
See, I think that scene is a lot more important.
Yeah.
Than
a lot of scenes.
Oh,
that's why I wanted to bring it up now before jumping back to it.
That
later.
was one line where I was like I was confused watching the movie, where he talks about hunting lions.
Yeah.
Like it sticks out. Like it. I don't remember how exactly they deliver it, but it's like we're hunting lions. Like it's gonna be hard. And you can see, I think Henry's character's looking a lot more intently at the screen, and he's like, okay, like something kind of clicks in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's basically what he's gonna be doing later in the movie.
Yeah,
either intentionally or unintentionally, however it happened.
He's the small fry in this. He's honestly the like. When it comes to this like chain of, I guess if you want to call them like the badasses of the movie, he's the lowest of the low, regarding to any and all of the characters.
Yeah,
and going back to what he states later in the film, and kind of the overall thing going on in the movie is he's underestimated.
Yeah. Even later, like Mel Gibson's character is constantly correcting the way he speaks.
I think everyone does that to it.
And he basically tells him, like, I talk like this so people will understand.
He's in the van and he says, we here.
Yeah.
And the guy in the back's like, it's we are here or we're here.
And every time he's like, you understood me, right?
Like, but you understood me.
Yeah, that happens multiple times, but it definitely does show like the way he does come off to people and what he's really thinking. Because he's obviously portraying that, but he's a lot smarter than everybody takes him to be. And it really does show later, but this is actually where somewhere in this, because this movie basically sets up the characters. We have Henry, we have he's got to do some stuff to get money. We've got Richmond and Lurisetti. They got suspended. They need money. They both have their problems.
These three main characters are all in a bind.
They're all in the bind. They all need money.
Yeah.
That's what we know. And we're going to find out what's going to happen. But also in this situation, this is where we're introduced to not necessarily the antagonist of the film.
One of them.
But one of them. And it's a weird scene. Like I didn't expect it going
Is this the hotel?
No. Wait, what's in the hotel?
The room within the room. Room 663.
No.
Or are you talking about
I'm talking about the
Spider-Man noir looking guy?
Yeah, I think it's that one.
Black Gloves.
Black Gloves. Is that what he's called?
They're at during the end credits. They all have their own like character card.
Yeah, so we see this liquor store. What it looks like.
This is what we were talking about with the act of violence.
Yeah, because up to this point, the only violence we've seen is
the nose
getting broken. That's it. Like that's really it. There's no gunshots and nothing.
This is honestly a really weird scene because this guy's a professional. And he goes in there, robs this liquor store for the till, kills the customer coming in, unloads on everything, and takes off.
Yeah. This... Like I do think about it now. It's like, why did he do that? This is one of those things that seems out of place, but I don't think it is.
No,
and I'm not sure because the dude just basically walks in, asks the guy. Actually, you know what it might be? Practice. Dude walks in, tells the guy behind the counter that he wants the till. He has 5 seconds to do it, and the guy complies, and it really like gets him moving. And I was like I even watching that, just you have 5 seconds to do it. Like that was a pretty tense scene. And while he does this, some rando just walks in the door.
I felt so bad right there.
Oh my gosh. Like, this shows a few things. Because while he's doing this, when the guy walks in, I don't know if you caught this. When the guy walks in through the door and he gets shot and he falls to the floor, he's still like screaming. He's not.
Yeah, no,
dead.
he plugs him a couple more times.
The dude behind the counter reaches.
Oh yeah, I know. I noticed that. That's why he plugs him.
Yeah. So he's dead. Turns around. This dude's begging for his life. Pops him, and then he just kind of stands there.
Yeah.
He walks over to the till, gets the till, and he's looking around, and he just starts shooting up the place. Nobody's in there. He's just looking around like, oh, that's.
He
fresh.
shoots the camera. He shoots the camera, against the back, like behind the counter.
Shoots the TV.
And he shoots the TV, and he's still looking around. I think he's still just looking for another camera.
Yeah.
But honestly, this has to be like some sort of practice run, or this. Maybe he's just getting in the warming up to something bigger.
I think it's that, but I think another thing about it is to show the randomness of it. Because this felt very No Country for Old Men to me.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like this is a random
act
of violence, but it doesn't feel random because of what happens later.
Now that you say that, I was getting that Anton Chigurh kind of feeling from him. Mm-hmm. Because of the stuff with the dialogue in the van. Because of the, just ultimately how intimidating he is. Yeah. He doesn't, he's this scrawny, bony dude.
Just happens to have a gun.
Yeah, this character, the entire look of him, you do not see maybe aside from his lips, the lip area, you don't see the tone of his skin.
Yeah,
it's just black. He's ski mask. Goggles, was it welding goggles basically?
It looked something like that, and he's just got a bag with him.
Yeah,
and his gun. That's it. All he's got.
The big Uzi.
Yeah, and I think thinking back to it, it does feel random, but at the same time, it feels very. The scene is very deliberate. Mm-hmm. What he does in the scene still seems very random, because why the hell is he shooting everything? What point? There is no real point to it. I think that's why it just feels random to me. And I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's practice, but it does seem like this is setting up what's gonna come later.
Yeah.
Because after that's it. He just goes in, bam, I'm robbing this place, done. That's it. We don't get anything else from him.
No.
That's it.
We don't see him until later, where I believe he's meeting up with whoever's on the phone, I think, delivering the van. Yeah.
And this is where the movie does slow down a little bit.
This is where it turns into 90% of a little. We're almost there, but this is where it becomes a full-on stakeout movie. Yeah,
and the movie does slow down, but it doesn't lose any entertainment.
No, you don't. That's the thing I like about this movie is
it is a slow burn.
You know what it feels like?
Yeah,
it feels like watching The Hateful Eight.
Okay.
Where it's a lot of talking. Yeah. It's a lot of you getting to know these characters.
He's very Tarantino.
You know what?
director.
Honestly,
it's just I think he does it differently though.
I see a lot of that in him. Bone Tomahawk is his Reservoir Dogs. Look at that star-studded cast. Yeah. Brawl is where I think he outshines himself. Yeah. With Vince Vaughn and this whole, character descent into hell, essentially. Yeah. And this is very much, and tone-wise, feels like his Jackie Brown, which so also happened to be an adaptation. Yeah. Of a novel. an exploitation novel.
Yeah, I mean,
which
it
a
does,
lot of his movies feel like an exploitation.
they do.
And if I had to like pick out of the 1, 2, 3, you know, like first film, you know, of those, you know, the two directors, for the longest time I would have said Pulp Fiction. Me just like growing up and like realizing how much I love hearing just good dialogue.
Yeah.
Jackie Brown is my like top when it comes to Tarantino films.
Yeah.
This, I would, you know, you would have told me, you know, a few weeks ago, and this is why I want to see so much more from him.
Yeah.
Because whatever he does next is like, I'm there.
We'll be excited for.
You have my ticket. You have my money.
Like, after watching this movie, I really want to get his books and see what they're like.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling they're gonna be really freaking good. Like, I think he knows this is one.
I want to. Do you think he like goes into full description with that violence?
I think he does. And I read a book recently. It was a trilogy. There's not a lot of violence in the book, but again, like the violence is sudden. It's striking, like the violence that happened. Because in the book I was reading, there's a scene where a guy is being hunted. There's a guy with a bow and arrow being hunted by a dude with a rifle, and there's an exchange that they have by a river, and dude gets shot with the arrow. Turns around, takes a shot with the rifle, and he takes an arrow through his face, basically, and then just like falls into the river so he doesn't get shot again. It was sudden, like not a lot happens, but just like the description of how painful it was, where it happens, like it's just sudden, it's violent, it's very descriptive in terms of like how much pain he's feeling.
Yeah.
But then it's just over.
See, yes.
That's what this movie feels like. It's
I think
sudden.
that's what all of his movies have done too. Is like,
it's you like not much is shown on screen, which I find it's good. Like it helps because you don't want it to linger. Bone Tomahawk did linger a few times.
No, it does. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I do like it because that also feels very anime to me. Like just the quickness of it. But it helps. It works. Because you don't really need a whole bunch on screen.
No, yeah.
Especially with the way he does it and what he shows on screen. Because there's a lot of aftermath shown when it comes to certain things. Like there's one scene in particular. Like they don't show a lot. You know what happens, but you know because of what you can see through a door as they're driving by.
Oh yeah.
That's all you get to see.
So jumping back to like where we're at in the movie.
Yeah.
Is this where we get Mel Gibson's Ridgeman meeting up with Udo Kier at the...
That was before they were on the stakeout, yeah.
Yeah. This is him talking to, was it Frederick? I believe his name was.
I think his name, yeah.
He goes into his I love this line too. And this is, you know, I'm going to always bring up his dialogue because I think he's probably like a modern master when it comes to dialogue in my opinion. He walks into the was it a suit? I forget what, I don't know what to call it.
I thought it was the jewelry store. He went.
It looks like he's in a mall or something.
Like a men's warehouse,
it's
basically.
like, he walks into this place that sells suits, and there's no price listed, and he asks the lady in the front how much for the suit, and she says $5,000. He's like, oh, so it must be bulletproof. I just immediately thought of like the John Wick suits, and I was just like, yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. And obviously he's like, yeah, no, but I'm not buying one of those.
Yeah, but he comes to Frederick because he's done something for him.
He's done him a favor.
He's done him a favor and he knew if he did him a favor, he can do him one in return.
So he helped his son out, right? Like
Yeah.
his son basically got busted. Well, his friends got busted. He let the son go.
Yeah. And so what he did is he wants some information regarding drugs, money,
Yeah,
guns.
he wants to know if there's anything.
He needs some.
terms of
He
a job.
needs a big score.
Yeah.
And what you're kind of getting from this is he's going to intervene in some way. That's what I just.
He essentially just wants the information.
You know he's gonna do something
Yeah,
with
he'll
this information, and he needs money.
Yeah.
And he's talking about guns, drugs, anything. So this is something serious that he's asking for.
Yeah.
And he gives them what does he tells?
I don't think he gives him anything at that meeting.
No, he kind of sends him he basically sends him on a hunt.
Yeah. So he gives him like he tells him about a room.
The room 663.
Yeah. He says what info does he give? Because I don't remember exactly what
He's
he
talking about the building, and that apparently in this building there's a room 663. But if you look in the directory, there's no 663.
Room, yeah.
So there's something in this room that's not. There's a room that's not supposed to be there, and apparently there's people that aren't there. There's something in that room regarding that he needs to dig into. So this is where all the stakeouts begin.
Yeah. So he calls his buddy.
Calls Larasetti.
Yeah.
And
tells him to meet him.
And he tells him you can be in or out. He gives him an option to do this. And he says, "Well, I'm here. I don't. He basically says he's not gonna.
I like one of his lines.
He basically says we're not gonna half-ass it.
Yeah. Well, Mel's character keeps asking him like, "Are you in?" And like whenever they get new info, like, "Are you in? Are you in?" And the response is, "I'm in till I'm not in."
Yeah.
I was like, "Dude, that's cool." But yeah, so they're basically just watching this room for I don't know how long in terms of movie minutes.
They are,
but they're just waiting there.
I think it's a couple days.
Yeah,
because you see it's dark. There's coffee.
They're just waiting.
It's daylight again.
Yeah,
and then it cuts back to night, and I think that's when people leave. Because Mel Gibson, Ridgman's in the back seat taking a nap, and this was like the part where I was just kind of like, damn, you're just exposing yourself. Was he just flat out like gets out of the car, Lazaretti moves over to the passenger seat, and he the lights in the car are on, and and I was just like, ooh.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff did seem very like, dude, you guys are gonna get caught. Yeah. But because of their distance and because they've probably done this before,
they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing, and especially in the chase, like when they're actually following them to the building, you can see like, like they've really done this before, and I think that really does show.
This leads up to the construction site, right?
Yeah. But this definitely shows, number one, the writer knows what he's doing. Because it's not just like, oh, we're just going to tail him and be behind him. Because a lot of movies are like that.
Yeah,
just like behind him.
The
obviously
camera's
behind
just
him.
Like bobbing and weaving.
Like this guy is going down parallel streets to keep up with him, to see where they're going. I don't know, he doesn't pass reds.
No, they come to complete stops.
Yeah, and it's like you can see who they're trailing just drive off, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, there's a part. It's later after they're wondering what's going on in the construction site.
Yeah,
when they're following a van, they hit a red, or they don't even hit the red yet, or I think they do hit the red, and there's full on like pedestrian traffic.
Yeah.
And you see the van just moving further and further away, and you're just like, oh, they lost him. This
Yeah.
is it. But when they get to the construction site, they it turns into another full on stakeout.
Yeah.
Ridgman goes out to check out the he gets out of the car.
It's
and,
like a parking lot that they went into.
Gets out of the car and tries to go see if they can see anything down there. Lazzaretti's sitting in the car, putting on his gay shit. He's basically spray painting his hair gray.
I like it, dude. Dude, oh my gosh! Like,
It's the dialogue, dude.
This is where the movie gets good.
It's
because he's spraying this stuff, and you know that stuff's gonna smell, and you know what that stuff is like.
It's gonna smell.
It waits till the last second when he's just spraying his hair. You just see Mel's character just, and then it just cuts.
What was the other line too? It was
so awesome.
I think it was before or it comes later.
Oh,
it comes later. It involves a cigarette, and that was one of the best parts for me. Was they go back into the car and the van leaves, and they see there's some white guys driving the car.
Oh yeah. So they know that they saw Henry and Biscuit go in, basically.
They saw them go in, but they're wondering who came out.
Yes.
And it turns out that Henry and Biscuit
they're in
whiteface.
Yeah.
So this is, leading into the essentially the chase, which is, a brisk under the speed limit drive following them. They lose them, and are we already introduced to Jennifer Carpenter?
No, not yet.
Does this
Because that all happens in one go. This is where
it almost cuts away, huh? Like
this is where they're following the van because so Biscuit
and Henry
go into the parking lot.
When they lose them, it cuts to Jennifer Carpenter, doesn't it?
No, because we still follow them, because while they're being followed. This is where Ridgman and Lazzaretti's character are trying to figure out what's going on.
Oh yeah, they're asking about like the financial district or the school district.
Yeah, they've basically staked out this place. They saw Henry and Biscuit's character, so they know there's two of those guys involved. They know one of the names of the other guys involved. All they see is them go into this parking lot, and a van comes out.
Yeah, okay.
All they know is that there's those three guys, there's this van, they're going to the financial district. They have no other information. This is where we're introduced to her character, because we basically see them following all night. Right?
It's almost like
in the morning. No, it's in the morning.
It's in the morning because they're following them in the morning. It's almost like they drive past her or something.
Yeah. So this is where we see her character, and we both, like we said, we had the exact same thought when we saw her.
It's an introduction out of nowhere, and she doesn't want to get on the bus. It looks like starting to feel like she might be like agoraphobic.
Yeah, she looked scared. She didn't look sad.
Yeah, no, exactly. So she decides not to get on the bus, and she takes off, and she goes back to her apartment complex, unlocks the door, and
tries to open the door.
The chain is on the door.
Yeah.
She's calling her, is it the boyfriend or husband?
Husband, I guess.
She's calling the significant other an a-hole for locking the door.
I don't think he was, though.
No, he's not, and he's right.
Yeah.
And this is something like you see a lot of the times. Like I know friends that have been in this situation where they're not the breadwinner, and there's that what is it? Is it postpartum?
Yeah,
and they don't want to.
Yeah, she's basically saying she wants to stay because her baby's there.
Yeah, she's afraid something's gonna happen to the baby while she's gone. She won't live it down if it does, and
they say like it's been so long since she was supposed to go back to work.
She wasted all of her all of her the baby pay. Basically, she's wasted all of her vacation and
She's
sick
basically
days.
overdue at work.
She needs to be back or she's done.
Pretty much.
And he tells her, "Go back, provide for your child, and you always can come. You know, he's gonna be here at the end of the day."
Yeah.
So, cut to it's a bank, right?
Yeah, it's a bank.
So they're in the bank, and everyone's there to celebrate her coming back. There's a big, little monument.
There's a little celebration.
Like they have biscuits. They have cake for her.
Yeah.
Cupcakes or something, and
Cupcakes, yeah.
her boss. Did you notice who the boss was? By the way,
who was the boss? Because he looked familiar.
I
thought it was hilarious.
That was Fred Malamed. He was the in Brawl in Cell Block 99. Remember, he would send Vince Vaughn to the back of the line with when he wanted to. He had to give up his possessions.
Yeah,
that was him, and I was like, "This is so perfect."
I hated him in that movie.
Yeah,
I would slap him. But in this one, he had like an accent too.
Yeah, I think that's just the way he speaks.
He was just hilariously just over the top. Like, I don't know of anybody who's like that. I could see that there are people like that, but it was just like, dude, come on. Like, why are you talking like this? It just seems so weird.
So what happens?
So she basically walks in. She's greeted by everybody, and that is when we see what's his face again. We actually don't see him yet. We see the van.
You see they're wondering if there's supposed to be a delivery.
Yeah, we see the van block the door.
It's Henry comes in, correct?
One of them, I don't remember who.
Because there's
they're outside, aren't they?
Biscuits
outside. Okay.
Yeah, because this was one of the jokes I wanted to bring up was Biscuits sitting in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And they Ridgman and Larcetti drive by and they circle around and park.
Yeah. They recognize
the van. So they see Biscuit smoking a cigarette. And I forget what he says. He's just like, he looks like a walking ad for a cigarette commercial.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Ridgman pulling a cigarette out and just lighting it and sitting in the car smoking a cigarette. Looking exactly the same. I don't
remember that part.
He's like, oh, he looks like a walking ad for a cigarette commercial. And it just like the dialogue goes quiet and the camera's just focused same position.
He just pulls out.
And he pulls out a pack of cigarettes, lights one up, and just sits there. And just Vince Vaughn is just looking at him like, are you serious, dude?
It's funny. But yeah, no, we see everything that goes on in the bank. And this is where everything starts to get crazy. Because nobody speaks. None of the bad guys
this
speak.
was cool, dude.
This was interesting. 3 of them walk in. They all have guns. And the one in front has a tape recorder strapped to his front, and all he does is press play and pause, and all that dialogue has already been pre-recorded. It's been distorted, so you can't tell who's speaking, and the directions are extremely clear,
explicit and clear.
Tells him that
they
need to open all the vaults. If anybody calls the cops, everybody's gonna die. He gives him certain instructions and basically gives him time in which to do it. So he has all those things basically that they did before, like in the liquor store. Like, you have a certain amount of time you have to do this.
He tells him too that he asks him, the recording asks him.
The recording asks the question.
Yeah, this is so awesome. The recording asks him
is there anybody in the back?
If there's anyone in the back, and if so, or if you're lying,
we're gonna cut off your genitals.
We're gonna cut off your. There's even a moment where it says with this, and there's a guy.
It was so scripted.
I think it was Gray Gloves, but he pulls this big ugly blade out.
And it was like, oh, they've practiced.
Yeah.
And then it was weird though. In the recording too, there was responses, and then they would say there was one part that says you look trustworthy.
Oh
and
yeah.
then they point to someone.
It's their job to point at the person that they think is the.
So like they've definitely thought this through, and pretty much, who do they point to? They point to Jennifer Carpenter's character, and she has to go around handcuffing everyone. Knowing
they give them the zip ties,
knowing that if the cops show up, everybody's gonna die. So as she's zip tying people, she sees that and if they talk, they die.
just flat out.
Anybody talks, they die. So she goes around zip tying everybody, and she comes up to one of the employees who's already written out an email. All he has to do is hit send. And she's just like looking at the screen like, oh no, what are you doing?
And he's putting it looks initially like he has his hands up, like he's going to put his hands behind his back.
Yeah.
And he starts reaching for, press enter or send or whatever. And she screams, no.
She basically tries to push
him out of the way.
Stop him from doing
and
it.
You just hear that automatic or that machine gun just go off. And
she basically loses her hand.
You can kind of see it. It's a split second, but when you see her on the ground, you see she has little nubs left over on her left hand and just flat out no hand in the right.
Yeah.
And she's like crying.
She's in shock.
Yeah, in shock. And she reaches into her pocket and says,
she
pulls out a little booty just covered in blood and says, will you make sure that my son gets this? And then it's just unloading.
Her face is just gone.
Gone, yes.
Like I shocked at
did
how
not
they did
expect
that.
I did not expect any of that, and it really just threw me out of not out of the character, but just out of the scene. I brought this up earlier. This was the scene where I thought, well, that was very weird and random that they introduced her and then they got rid of her in this manner.
Yeah.
But ultimately, but it does make sense, because when you see, I don't even know if what happens? Do they hear the gunshots, or see them all just loading in?
They basically finish up. They load up the van, and we don't see any of this. That's all we get to see. That's inside the bank. But judging from what they had already said, we kind of already know what's going to happen. So all we really see is the van drive off, and Richmond and Liricetti go after it.
They make a U-turn, don't they?
Do they make a U-turn? Yeah, they make a U-turn.
Oh, no. That was when the convertible or the sports car and the van,
they were about to tail it, and then the car got in the way.
The car's gone the way.
So they actually passed the bank.
Yeah, the van takes off, and they're stuck there. Well,
they pass the bank, and the bank has glass doors.
Yeah.
So what they see is
the banging.
Bodies.
They see the woman banging on the door.
They see a woman banging on the door.
And
they don't, for 1 second, get off their car and go see what's going on.
No. They see it, and they know
what happened.
And you see that's so, oh my God. The bank manager with his pants down and just a bloody stain in his briefs.
Yep.
It's like, ooh.
You already know what happened.
Yep.
You don't need to see it, but you know what happened. And they start talking about what happened.
Lazzaretti's upset.
Yeah.
At what happened.
Could have done something.
That they could have done something. Doesn't matter that they're still cops.
At this point, see, this is another thing. They already know what would have happened had they gone in. At least Mel's character does. What are they going to do? What can they do?
No, there's nothing.
The van's blocking the door. Had they have gone in, they would have been stuck in that situation too. There would have been a gunfight. They would have been dead. Because they would have been the only two in there. No backup. While they have backup in their van.
Yeah. and they end up on the interstate.
Yeah,
From
this
here?
is where we get another like slow chase.
And this is the glove boys.
The
I don't know.
Glove
I don't know what you
Boys,
want to
they
call
take
them.
a hostage.
Yeah, they took a hostage. This was the part where I was like, "Oh shoot, what just happened?" She says she has to pee, and they tell her like,
Oh yeah.
if you say another word, you'll be a pirate. But it looks like he like does something.
It looked like
It looks like he actually like punctures the tape or
he
something.
does. He
Because is that
makes a little tear in the tape. And I don't know if he like goes all the way through. And gets
see?
her
That's
eye.
what I was wondering because it looked like
it.
it looked like liquid coming out, and I didn't know if it was a tear. I didn't know if it was blood.
I don't know.
But the guy says, one of the other glove boys says, cover it up, and he takes his gum, I think.
Yeah.
He puts it on the eye, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is a little much.
Yeah. And this is one thing I really like because there's not very many movies that do it. Dunkirk is one. You never get a look at the Nazis.
Oh yeah.
You never get that like sense of, oh, they're people. The guys in the back of the van are just in the back of a dark van.
There's just the one guy, what was his name?
I don't remember his name, but it doesn't matter.
The
The thing is, every time we look at them, they're just in the back of a dark van. There's no good view of them. They're just there.
mm-hmm.
You know they're there. You know they have their guns. They're giving orders. They're not being particularly menacing.
No.
But they're there, and you know what they're capable of.
So this is where we get they tell them to put their guns into the glove box, essentially, stripping them of any weapons. And we see Henry spot Ridgeman and Lazzaretti.
Yeah. So they're the ones driving. Henry and Biscuit are driving. Not only are they supposed to be obviously driving them to where they're going, but keeping an eye out to see if anybody's following them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few times where they see someone following them.
Yeah, they spot him right away. I think he spots him right away, doesn't he?
Yeah. So does the driver, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
he doesn't say anything.
None of them say anything. And then at a few points, they're asked if anybody's tailing them. Henry butts in and says, "Ain't nobody behind us."
Yeah.
But we can see, like, we know that they've seen them.
We know that he knows that there is someone back there.
So this is another one of those moments where it's like, he's not going to say anything.
Nope.
No matter what, like, he knows that someone knows where they are. He's going to use that to his advantage.
Yeah, a lot of this with them in the van was probably some of my like favorite like bits of the movie.
Yeah.
You see, what they're capable of in the gloved guys in the back of the van.
Yeah.
You hear how professional they are. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
These Biscuit and Henry, they seem like they're basically the yes men of the job.
Yeah. They didn't know what they were in for.
No,
Like, that clearly went wrong. But the thing about it is, you don't know if that's what the plan was all along, though. Like, it just as easily could have been part of what they were going to do.
They're referred to as Slim and Muscle right here.
Slim and Muscle, yeah.
So they end up at this.
It's just like a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, like a garage.
It looked like an old like auto like a garage, yeah.
Yeah.
They have like the little markers. There's the dead possum.
Oh yeah.
What is it?
There's a refrigerator, and then there's a dead rat.
Yeah, the possum, the refrigerator, and the dead rat.
That was funny.
So they spot those, or Slim spots those.
Yeah.
And Slim gets out of the van to unlock the door to the garage. he unlocks the first one. He gets to the second one. He looks back at Biscuit, and they have this like knot of agreement.
Yeah.
And Henry pulls the gun out.
When they ask him to open the locks, this is where he pulls out the gun he had hidden.
Yeah.
So he unlocks the second one, and this is where Muscles pushes over one of the guys who has a gun on him.
One of them's in the...
And they both basically try to make a run for it.
He's in the passenger seat, right?
Yeah, he moves up to the passenger seat, basically puts a gun on Muscles, and is just waiting to make sure the door gets open.
Yeah.
So he unlocks I don't think he unlocks the second one, though, does he? Because they need that key.
Yeah, he doesn't unlock the second one.
They basically try to make a run for it.
Mm-hmm.
Muscles gets shot. Henry
he falls out of the driver's seat.
Yeah, falls out of the
Muscles is Biscuits, by the way.
Yeah.
But he falls out of the seat onto the ground, and I think they have the little holes inside the van. They shoot they basically shoot his legs out right there.
Yeah.
And he takes the key off the ring.
He takes the key. I don't know if it was on a ring.
But he just flat out just tries to swallow this key.
And that was one thing I saw in cartoons growing up, like Looney Tunes. I was like,
that was a fat key too, dude.
That was a huge key.
That wasn't like...
That was like a
I have
car
my keys
key.
right here. That wasn't like one of these or like one of these. It was...
No, that was like that first one.
It was like this,
it was
but like
huge.
wide.
Yeah. I was like, oh no. So yeah, he's basically trying to stop them, knowing he's probably gonna die.
Yeah,
at this
he
point.
knows flat out that this is... there's probably no coming back from this.
Yeah, and yeah, Henry just makes a run for it. He wants to take his friend, obviously, so he tries to get him, but
they leave him alive. Essentially, they're shooting him in all over the place.
Yeah, they basically ask him for the key multiple times.
Whatever. Yeah,
he's not going to give up the key, so they just have to kill him.
He flat out pukes it out and then swallows it again.
I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Real shortly after that, Ridgman and Laracetti drive up.
Yeah.
They put on their tack gear. They already had their vests.
So
on.
They have the bulletproof vests, and then they have these the helmet, the masks.
Yeah, like the steel plated mask.
Yeah. And they're basically just ready for it.
Oh, I kind of want to go back, but it was when they're on the interstate.
Yeah.
And Lazzaretti, or no, it's even before that. He asks him about if he's into construction. And he's like, you know what's going to happen if I make this, right? And he's telling him about how he's making the gun, or he's assembling the rifle.
Oh, yeah.
And so when they pull up, he pulls the rifle out and he gets into position. Yeah. And he's blowing out the tires and...
Well, no. They shoot one of the tires and Mel asks him, did you miss?
Oh, yeah.
Because they know they should be hearing that thing losing gas. They should hear the hiss. Uh-huh. But they're running on airless tires.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so they're a little confused. They try to shoot out the second one. Same thing. But, like, they're obviously using their tactics, like cop tactics.
Yeah.
So they kind of just do their thing. I don't remember how exact... They do ram the van. So you have the van on its side.
I love old American cars.
This is one of those weird ones, though.
That's not fiberglass, dude. That's like this old, like, Oldsmobile. Just that's a boat. That's like a tank.
That's a boat. Yeah, it is. Now, is it able to freaking knock over an armored van?
Probably
I don't know.
But
I doubt it. I didn't care. At that moment, I was like, okay.
I'm in. Like, yeah.
I think it was because what was going on. I was like, I just want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I want to see how everything resolves.
I don't know. I've seen more ridiculous in movies, so it's...
Yeah.
I see cars falling off of cliffs and just explode on impact. So I'll believe that van flipped.
Yeah, so they have the van on its side. They're getting ready. They're basically telling the guys
They're
in
giving
the
them
van what
orders
do.
to, give up. This actually reminded me of Mel Gibson in Signs when he's talking to the alien in the cupboard. We got
You
a
got a
paddy
paddy
wagon.
That was hilarious.
But that's exactly what that reminded me of.
But
And
yeah, we
that's-
get like a small back and forth between them
Yeah.
and the guys.
We cut to the inside of the van,
Oh, this part I was like,
and
yeah, these guys have really done this before.
they take the hostage's ID.
They take a picture on the
Of her,
phone.
oh yeah, they take a picture of her in the situation, send it to essentially her family.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they did it, but they said they sent.
They
They asked her if she has any family at that location listed on her.
On the address.
Listed on the address. They basically send a picture to her family and say, no, they have someone that will go to the address.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't do exactly what they say, they're basically going to kill everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So they give her orders. We don't see what those are. But
that's when we hear gunfire from inside the van.
yeah, that was weird.
This was a ruse.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Because you hear,
I don't remember that,
you
actually.
hear one of the gloves grunt,
Yeah.
and you hear multiple shots, and then that's when you see the hostage
Crawling. Yeah, I don't think I caught that.
Yeah,
think
that was a ruse.
I thought that was supposed to be some sort of like distraction or something else. Like I didn't really catch it like that.
At first I just thought she like fought back, and just it's such a small space that she was able to like hop out.
See, I didn't think that mostly
But-
because of what was going on in the van.
Yeah, no, see that's exactly why I was just like, well, I don't even know why I would have thought that. Like, one, she had the blindfold on, too,
Yeah.
But
So she basically comes crawling out.
so she comes crawling out, and Lazzaretti, with his tactic, his police, procedural, is calling her over.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of the most, like, I don't know, this kind of hit me in the gut. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, prior to this whole drive, I should say.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I
I
completely forgot.
totally
about this.
forgot about this.
So yeah, when they find out what's going on, basically, he makes a phone call and leaves a voicemail to his fiance,
His girlfriend.
his girlfriend. Yeah, never mind. His girlfriend basically telling her that he needs some info, and she needs to check the pocket of one of his blazers.
Yeah,
And in that pocket, we know that he has the ring.
the ring.
So this is basically his
He says
indirect way of
this
proposing.
is his indirect way of proposing. Ridgman says, like, you think she's even gonna say yes to this like half-ass proposal? And
oh man,
he basically said, Lazzaretti says that she puts up with
Like,
enough.
she's smart.
Yeah, she's smart enough to know what this is,
Yeah.
and so prior to them, I think even them. Did they flip?
this was when he's on the floor with the rifle. He gets the phone call
Oh yeah, he gets
because
the.
we do see her go into his.
Did they
the
hit?
apartment.
They didn't hit the. Did he hit the van prior
To the call?
to the call?
Yeah.
Because
Prior to her calling him. He called while they were on the road to the.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's right. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember because I know the car hits it twice. Then.
Yeah, it does it multiple times, but yeah.
So this is the first time. So the hostage comes crawling up, and right when he gets to her, you hear pop, 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 and
And they shoot her in the face, I think.
Ridgman just flat out blows off her jaw.
Yeah, that was crazy.
They sent her out there to essentially kill them. So
Yeah.
they don't harm anyone in her family.
Yeah, and
Which-
then
Ooh,
This is
that
where
was
you
that was
kind of,
rough.
this is
it-
where you hear basically his breathing. It's like
Yeah.
she punctured something.
yeah, he's trying to take the vest off to see the damage, and
like, I don't wanna see it.
Lazare's like, I don't want to see what's going on underneath that thing.
This is one thing that is constant through the movie is like they already know what the outcomes of these things are going to
Yeah.
be. So at this point, he already knows that he's not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of his experience and where he was injured, he's not going to make it.
He asks to listen to the voicemail
Yeah.
right here, and he says that's not the reaction I was hoping for.
Yeah.
So you know that he doesn't even get that happy ending.
Yeah. Man, that was
she knows what this guy's life is, and you know that she was out like right as she saw herself spending the rest of her life with this guy, and she was like, nah.
He's
Which
like,
is-
well, that happened.
Yeah. So
It's just all bad.
he basically just he's done
Yeah.
right there. And Ridgman puts the mask back on. Or we actually see Henry.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Do we?
you see Henry right there. He's up recording them.
Oh.
As soon as
Okay,
he
yeah,
takes
yeah,
the
yeah.
masks off,
Yeah.
it's not even he's recording prior to that.
Okay, yeah. And this is another moment where it's like Henry knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's hiding in the dark, recording everything. So much so where I think he can see their faces
Yeah.
and hear them.
Because they have lighting on them.
Yeah. And it like dude knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Dude knows exactly what he's
And
doing.
so Ridgman puts the mask back on, and this is where he slams into the back of the van.
Back of the van, yeah. Like he knows what
He
he's
flips
doing.
it. Oh no, it's already flipped. No,
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, it's already flipped, huh?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
basically chucks in a tear gas.
He chucks in the tear gas, and they're slowly. One he gets right away. I think as they're driving, or as he's driving, he pops one,
Yeah.
and then he slams into him from the back. And then I think another one is up on top. He pops him,
Yeah, right when the
And
tear
the
gas
door-
is in there,
yeah.
he's just sitting there waiting.
and then that's when he throws the tear gas in there.
Oh man.
And the one comes out, pops him, and I believe he was the guy without the mask.
I know they give out his name.
Lawrence. Yeah, they gave his name out. It was Lawrence.
Mhm.
He's still in there, and this is when Ridgman gets on top of the on the side of the van essentially, and Lawrence sticks his gun up, trying to
Oh yeah.
he tries to shoot. I think he does pop him.
No, he doesn't.
No, right
He
there.
might have
yeah.
scratched him, but
No, yeah, you're right. He doesn't get him right there, but he's able to shoot into the hole, and he gets Lawrence
him,
like
yeah.
he just somewhere right here.
yeah. And
Straight-
I thought
straight
this was
down.
gonna be like, okay, here we go. Like that's like, they get
And
their
I-
stuff, and there's gonna be
Henry
some other stuff.
Henry shoots
Henry
Ridgman,
shoots
right?
him, falls, drops his gun,
Shoots
shoots
him
the
in
gun
the
away.
leg, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because he like flies off the van.
This is one thing where I started realizing something about the movie. Is every time something like gets resolved or tries to get resolved,
Something happened.
there's always another question left over.
Yeah.
And there's like so many times that I'm like, dude, what is even going on here? Because I don't think I remember seeing Henry with the phone recording. I thought
Yeah,
he was alone. I thought Mel's character was just, bam, here we go. I'm going to get all my money. And something else is going to happen. Like, nope.
You spot him. He's like, it looks like because it looks almost like a billboard, and he's kind of just like perched up on like the little.
Yeah. No, I know he's up there. I don't think I caught any of that.
Okay. But yeah, so they essentially come face to face with each other, and this is the first time they're meeting.
Yeah.
He tells him that he's spotted him way back, and the only reason he spotted him was because, or he spotted him outside of the construction site.
Yeah.
And he says like, well, you're that cop that's on the TV for excessive force, so of course I knew who you were. And we get from Henry that he's been recording everything, he saw everything, and this is his, essential blackmail.
Yeah.
Richmond takes his vest off to use the strap of the vest to
Stop the bleeding.
stop the bleeding. And we get him tossing it's like a pocket sand scene.
Pocket sand.
And
Yeah.
we get him tossing the vest on him.
vest.
And this is them fighting. What happens right here?
This is where the I don't think he gets.
They calm each other down, don't they? Like they.
Yeah.
The
so
gun,
they fight,
the gun.
and he basically takes the
He pops
magazine.
the clip. Yeah, he pops the clip out and ejects the round, I believe.
Yeah.
And-
So then neither of them has a gun. Neither of them has anything over the other, except for
Their
the
word,
info,
yeah.
essentially. So they basically agree to split the money, and all of this was over gold. There was a
there were
shipment
gold,
of gold at the bank,
gold bullions, I think.
and they basically stole all the gold. It's just in these duffel bags, like
There's
huge amounts of
there's
gold.
like four duffel bags.
It's a
aren't
lot
there?
of gold. And it's a lot of money. It's like 13 mil, I think they said in money.
Oh
15
yeah,
mil.
that's right. Because he was gonna. What he pulled the gasoline out, and he was gonna pour the gasoline into the van,
Oh yeah.
and that's why Henry shot him. Was he told him that
There's cash in there.
there's cash in there that you're not gonna burn all that cash.
Yeah. So that's kind of essentially
no,
what
that
leads
was
to their
you-
fight.
yeah.
Then they agree that they're gonna split it. But this is one of those moments where that they're both kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah, you see it right away,
And you know what's gonna happen.
they decide they're gonna bury their friends. They're
Yeah.
going to make all of this kind of make their part in it go away.
Yeah.
And when you see them getting into because he's gonna get into the Escalade,
Yeah.
Henry, and he's gonna drive Ridgman's vehicle, in neutral.
Yeah.
He's gonna tow it essentially.
Yeah.
They're gonna dump it.
They're gonna dump it.
And when you see both of them get into their cars, you see right away they both reach for guns.
Yeah, and again, it's just one of those things where it just sets up a question. It's like, well, you know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
How is it going to happen, and where is it going to happen? I didn't expect it to happen like it did.
No,
I thought it was going to happen much, much sooner. So you basically see them dump the car.
They dump the car.
They load up the Escalade,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're just kind of sitting there.
They're gonna take off, and I forgot the exchange that leads to it, but they're essentially saying, or Ridgman pulls his gun out first.
Yeah,
and
he tells him he wants to get rid of the phone and everything on.
Yeah, he wants that leverage that he has over him gone.
Yeah,
and we'll keep it that way. And I feel like this is cutting back to all of that. Like, we didn't really bring much of it up when we're discussing the wife.
Mm.
And I feel like this is something a lot of people do bring up and have that kind of feeling.
Mm.
I know people that feel this way. I've heard friends, I've used to work retail, and I've heard people say this.
Yeah.
Like, they say they're not racist until they're put in a certain area or position.
Yeah.
And they say that they don't like these people, or they, they call them these things because they see how they are.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to, what was it? I forgot what movie I was watching, and someone said that they were in like a restaurant or something, and the waiter flat out told them that they don't like serving black people because they don't tip.
Mm.
And the guy was saying like, well, it's because we're in this area and no one tips. Like, it was like just like a shitty joke, but it's something like that. Like, you feel that's what a lot of these characters are feeling, especially Ridgman, his wife, the daughter.
And the daughter, yeah.
It's where
you can see them feeling like that, and you can see why.
And
that's the main thing.
They want to have this hate, and they know that it's.
I don't think they want to have.
That
hate.
That's the thing. Excuse me. Yeah,
they have
misspoke.
that simply
have
because
that, yeah.
of where they are and how they're being treated by those people. Because she even says it. She says, "I didn't know I was racist till we moved here."
Yeah.
And the first thought that came to mind is I don't think she is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just because these people are treating her like that she has this thought towards them.
And this ultimately leads to Ridgman's downfall. Is this his 27 years as this, beat lieutenant?
Yeah.
Or this beat detective. His lifestyle, it's where he lives, how he is. He doesn't trust Henry.
Yeah.
And Henry, has to react. Because ultimately, that's all he has it's him providing for. They're both just trying to. They're just ultimately they're going about the wrong way, but they are good men.
Yeah, they're both just trying to provide. All three of them were just trying to provide for their family, basically.
And then at the beginning of the episode, I even said that they're bad guys.
Yeah.
But they're bad guys with good intentions.
Yeah.
And Henry is put into the situation where he needs to do something to get out of, and he pulls his gun on Ridgman. Mm-hmm. And both guns go off, and it cuts away, and we see that Henry is the one that ultimately got the drop on Ridgman.
Yeah.
And he tells him, this was kind of what got me, I was just like, oh man, like, he says that he's never killed anyone before, and that all he's ever done was put the guy who put his brother in a wheelchair into intensive care.
Mm.
And which is what I assume why he was in prison.
Yeah.
And he tells him, he's like, you really weren't going to do it. Like, he knew.
Yeah, like, he basically says, like, I told you what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Like, my word's good. I wasn't going to, like, screw you over. Like, this was my insurance. What else am I supposed to do?
Yeah. He's like, what am I going to do? Trust a crooked cop? Like,
yeah.
I love that line, by the way.
Yeah, that whole exchange with them two was interesting. And then when they talk about, when he basically tells Henry, Mel's character tells Henry, like, you can at least split this with my family. And then he's still telling him, like, oh, we're going to split it 60-40. Henry's like, no, they're not getting 40%. But I'll give him something.
Yeah, he flat out, he keeps his word.
He does, which, I mean, he was telling the truth. He was going to split it with him. Mm-hmm. But, like, nothing happened like any of them expected.
Yeah. And this is where
I didn't expect a lot of that stuff, too.
No,
Watching it, I was like, this is not going like I thought it would.
No, it's going to end bad for, if not one of them, all of them.
Yeah.
And I was actually very surprised that we do get Henry as, the last man standing.
Yeah.
And that's what I think he even mentions it right there, was the fact that everyone underestimates him.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what gets everyone, you know.
Yeah.
It's why everyone's dead.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, none of them expected this. He had it all planned.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they were loading up the car, he had already planted the gun.
Yeah.
This is the same gun he used to kill Ridgman, because he planned it all out. He had it all set up since the beginning. And it all came to pass almost not exactly like he expected, but everything he had set up for himself helped him.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he was being followed, didn't say anything about it. He knew they were going to need the guns that he planted.
He knew he needed them to get out of the situation. Like,
yeah, like he needed somebody to get him out of that situation, because he knew for sure that the dudes that they helped to rob the bank were going to kill him.
That's probably right away why he even like started recording, when he spotted the.
Oh yeah, like that. He was gonna use that. He knows he
use that again right away.
Yeah, and thinking back to how the movie starts, I should have seen him as much more of a main character than anything.
Yeah, I didn't see him.
I didn't see that for some reason.
Like he's like third bill too.
Well, the thing about it is, and this is one thing that I saw in a YouTube video. It was talking about movies, but the dude was basically saying like, pay close attention to the very first scene of the movie, because they'll tell you a lot that you need to know going in. Like they'll basically tell you everything. And thinking back to the very first scene, or at least the first two that involve Henry, and both involve Henry, showing how important he is. Both show what he's capable of and like his motivation.
Yeah.
Should have seen that like the entire time.
Exactly. So we get him. He's burying
He's burying all of them.
He's burying all of them.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Not only does he bury them, he tells them once it's done, he'll come back and do it properly.
Yeah. Well, I think he specifically tells Biscuit that.
I wasn't sure if it was. Oh,
yeah,
I forgot
because
Biscuit.
I think he specifically says it to Biscuit.
Yeah.
Because of obviously what happens later in the film.
Yeah.
You get a scene with it's 11 months later.
Yeah.
And I believe, I don't remember if it opened with Henry or
no, it opens with Ridgman's daughter,
Sarah and Melanie.
Yeah.
And Sarah has a package.
Yeah, they get a package in the mail
from a P.O. box that says Ridgman.
Yeah, so they don't know what happened to him. They just assume he's gone missing, and
they've just been in that. They're still in the same apartment.
And it seems like they've been expecting something from him.
It's a heavy box, and the mom asks Sarah to step outside because she wants to open it herself.
Yeah.
And what we get is she opens it up, and
it's bullion.
Just a
bunch of gold.
Fat cases of
bullion. A lot of money in gold.
She just says it ends. Her scene ends with her just saying thank you, and that's it. That's all we get.
That's another thing too. She kind of already knows, like
she knew
whether or not he's dead or alive. He did what he said he was gonna do. That amount of money will probably be good for a while.
Yeah.
Will it last them forever? No. But I mean, they're set for what they need.
Yeah. So then we cut back to Henry. Oceanside. His mom getting a massage with the big windows in front of the ocean.
Yeah. Asking her if she wants sushi.
And I love this part too. Is she's like, nah, I'm gonna make you a homemade meal. Yeah. And it's like they know their roots. Like they know they're living comfortable, but they know that where they are, they're good. And we get Henry going into his brother's room.
Yeah.
playing his video games.
Dude, I thought he was playing No Man's Sky.
That's exactly what I thought, dude. I was like, what is that?
I was like, wait a minute.
Okay, because that one looked very like...
It looked like a real game.
It looked like a real game, and then we get the scene where they're playing whatever game they're playing together.
Yeah.
And Henry asks his brother, "Hey, do you still have that shotguns? That game with the lions?
Yeah, that game they were playing at the beginning
before everything happened." And he says, "Shotgun Safari."
Yeah.
Turns it on, presses start, and cut to black.
Yeah. It is a very abrupt ending.
I love that ending though. It all circles back to the, like what they're all doing is they're,
yeah,
it's this jungle, that
pretty
they're
much
in.
Yeah. I do like the ending. It was not at all what I expected. The running time, I'm not sure if it's just how it's paced and how everything unfolds,
I
but
think it's 2 hours, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah. I think it's a little over 2 hours. But it felt like other things were going to happen after all the stuff at the warehouse went down, or the garage. Like, it felt like there was going to be more in terms of, like, what's going to happen to this money.
Yeah.
But it did tie up pretty quickly afterwards because of the conflict between Henry and Ridgman.
Yeah.
Like, that I didn't expect. That, the entire time, I was just watching the screen like, when is this going to happen? Like, I know it's going to happen. It has to happen soon. I didn't expect it to go down. Like, everything was just sudden. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. What's going to happen now? Oh, what? Like,
Yeah.
I don't expect any of this. And I think that's where the writer shines. Like, I didn't expect a lot of that.
Mm-mm.
And the funny thing about this one is it's super simple.
It's not the grand western that we got with Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah.
It's not the Descent into Hell with Brawl and Cell Block 99.
Yeah.
It's probably the most expensive of his movies he's made.
Yeah, which there's not that much going on.
There's not a lot going on. It's a lot of, I think they just whatever that budget was just probably went to Mel Gibson, to be honest.
Probably. But yeah, like thinking back to what actually happens in the movie, like there's not a lot. There's not a lot of violence.
Mm-mm.
It's very, very simple. We need to get money. We're going to steal the money. That's basically what it is.
You've seen this movie hundreds of times. Like, this is essentially a lot of these, like, crooked cop movies, and
yeah,
something bad happens to them, and that's, like, the one good guy gets away.
Yeah.
But I feel like this one was different, and it is because of that writing.
This one feels different.
It doesn't rely on those big shootouts. Like, even the shootouts in this, it's like...
It's not much of a shootout.
It's Lazzaretti. It's Lazzaretti's character popping off the rifle a couple times.
See, that's the thing, is there is no real shootout because there's not some sort of exchange that happens between them.
The closest you get is when Lawrence is in the van shooting up.
Yeah. I think the thing about this one is everything seems like it has, like, everybody knows what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the sense of like, oh, they know how everything's going to play out, but they know if we're going to rob a bank, things are going to get bad, everybody's going to die. They already expect it. That's what happens. Ridgman and Lazzaretti's character, if things go south, we're going to die. We have to be
Yeah.
prepared. We have to be prepared for it. That's why I'm gonna call my girlfriend and do all this other stuff. Richmond's already accepted it. He doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They already know if this goes south, this is going south. It's not really much else we can do. Like everybody kind of has it set in their mind. Like we know what we're gonna do. We know what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
Henry's already like had that in his mind for I don't know how long, but everybody seems determined to do what it is they need to do, and nothing else really gets in the way.
There was even that was Biscuit. Like he knows like he's not gonna make it out, and first thing he says is
He knows.
take care of my mom,
Yeah.
and buy her one of those big TVs.
Yeah. I mean, even on their drive to the place, where they start talking about the old birthday that they had, you know he's not gonna make it. You already know he's not gonna make it, and you know Henry knows that. He just needs to calm him down until he can get out of this.
Yeah.
Not because he doesn't want him to make it, but he already knows he's not gonna keep it together.
Yeah.
Like they already know that. That's the one thing. Like watching this, it's like you can see it. It's just when is it gonna happen? Like a lot of the movie was just me waiting for those things to happen. And I mean they all happen, just not in the way I thought.
Yeah, no, that's true. I just that the entire third act, to be honest, it shines in ways that like I didn't think it was going to.
It's the best part of the movie.
Yeah. It's Ridgman's character.
Mm.
He doesn't feel for anyone or anything. He's upset with life. He's upset with what's going on.
Mm.
But it genuinely breaks his heart when he loses his partner. And that's the only time you see real emotion out of his character.
Yeah.
And so when you see him do what he has to do from that point on, that's your ride or die character in the movie.
Yeah,
And
he almost does it like begrudgingly, like
and it's
now I gotta do this.
And it sucks when you see that like he can't just trust one person.
Yeah.
Aside from his partner.
Yeah. It's like weirdly a comedy and a tragedy at the same time.
No, it is. It really is.
Oh man. It's good though. Like it has similarities between Brawl and Tomahawk. Like people die. A lot of important characters die. I was wondering if this one was going to be the same. I did not expect it to be them though.
No,
I really, really didn't.
I was kind of hoping at least one of them got out.
Yeah, but yeah, I did enjoy this one, and again, like I hope he makes more stuff. I just want to watch it because I like everything he's done so far.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I think even after I watched Bone Tomahawk,
yeah,
I was like, oh, this is this guy's like feature debut.
Was it?
Yeah.
Dang.
Because his IMDb only says he has the 3 that he's directed.
It's just these 3 that I know of.
And another thing notes I kind of wanted to bring up was he says that his what is it he wrote which one did he write first? He wrote I think it was either this one or Brawl in Cell Block 99 first. I think Brawl he wrote first and then Dragged Across Concrete as his novel, and then he was trying to get Bone Tomahawk made.
Yeah.
And that was when he finally got Tomahawk made. And then from there, that's when he went to Brawl. And
Brawl seems like a quick movie though. Like,
yeah, it does.
Real quick, real cheap.
That one's almost 2.5 hours, huh?
Is it? It didn't feel that long.
No, it doesn't, and I think it's just because you're just those are some of my favorite movies where you're with the one character
Yeah.
from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Like what was it? There Will Be Blood.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's why I like it so much is
Yeah, they're all slow burns.
yeah, and you never get taken away from the character.
Yeah.
This one I think it was different because of that. Bone Tomahawk, it had a lot of characters that you needed to like invest in before they go on their adventure or their trip. But
yeah, it was good though. I think I need to watch it one more time.
yeah, I plan on that.
And then probably sometime later, in a few years. But
Down the road.
yeah, this one's really freaking good. The writing, the directing, the acting's really good, even though it's really subdued in my opinion. It's just good. That's it. That's all I got. Yeah. Any last thoughts? I guess
Closing thoughts. This movie rules.
It's really
Zahler
freaking
rules.
good. It's really good.
As problematic as Mel Gibson is, I love his acting. He's one of those guys that I believe, everyone still looks down on him for his the way he acted years ago.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's bad or whatever, but or that wasn't bad, I should say, but he's one of those guys that you can see is trying to do that comeback.
I mean, yeah, he's doing a pretty good job so far. Like everything he's done has stood out.
Yeah. Was it when he first came back with was it The Beaver? I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
No.
In that one he has like a little hand puppet of a beaver.
Oh,
and it's his like friend.
Oh no.
And it's just this really weird twisted comedy.
That sounds funny.
But that was like his initial like comeback, and he started making other crazy movies like Edge of Darkness and just directing stuff like Hacksaw Ridge. But I try to, and it's hard in this climate, but I try and separate the actors from the art from the person sometimes. And when it comes to Mel Gibson, he's one of those guys that for all extensive purposes you probably shouldn't, but I don't care, he rules. He's a great actor. I don't know, man. Just as the overall movie, it's worth the watch. I essentially blind bought it, but I think I would do that for any of S. Craig Zahler's films.
Yeah. So this one feels a lot different to me than Bone Tomahawk and Brawl in Cell 99.
Mm-hmm.
But it does a really good job for what it is. All these movies have been good so far. This one I think stands out from the other two. I think it is better. I still really like Bone Tomahawk, but this one, I think he shines with this genre in terms of crime and just like the grittiness and the feel of everything. It feels very Tarantino.
Yeah,
because of the really good dialogue, the violence. Although he doesn't wallow in it like Tarantino does.
Yeah, I mean he's got
it's done
the
right.
racist characters. So,
it's done well. It's done. It's very precise.
One of the things we didn't really bring it up while we were talking about it, kind of prior, was you were talking about how a lot of people say that S. Craig Zahler's films get labeled as alt-right.
Yeah.
Which I don't see.
Yeah.
Brawl, you see Vince Vaughn as a skinhead, essentially.
Yeah.
He's bald with a big tattoo on the back of his head.
Yeah.
Of a cross. But
he's like an ex-skinhead.
But his character's a good man. Like, from everything he does, it's all for his family. He's the negative stuff he does say it's said in terms of he needs to do it to get to achieve his goal in Brawl and Cell Block 99.
Yeah, I think
He
I
uses
think that's the thing with this film.
racist slurs against the Mexicans in there,
Yeah,
but that's only to provoke them, so he can move on and further into this this descent into madness.
yeah. Like everything in that movie in particular has its purpose in order to get him somewhere.
Yeah,
In this movie, I think it's done as more of a setting.
It's a
as part of the setting, like to tell you like how things are there.
It's a setting and a reminder.
Yeah,
because that's ultimately what leads to his Ridgeman's downfall.
Yeah.
Is he as much as he may be a good man, it's still that racist part of him.
Yeah.
That
What? I was thinking about this too because I remember reading those points online about people's objections to it, and it's like, oh, all these violence to all these minorities and whatnot. I was like, every single white person in the movie dies.
Yeah.
But are they going to complain about that? No. They're just going to complain that
if anything, the alt-right
one black dude dies in the movie, one Asian guy dies in the movie.
If anything, the alt-right should be upset with this movie.
Yeah, all the white people die. Well, except like the wife and the daughter, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But yeah, that's my thoughts on everything.
Back,
I think it did a good job for what it is. All those lines, I think, fit, and they don't need to be taken out. I think it works exactly how it is. And that's my thing.
If you have a problem with Zahler, then I know a lot of people do anyways, but if you have a problem with Zahler, then you should have a problem with Tarantino. If you have a problem with them, you should have a problem with anyone and everyone else that works in Hollywood, because
it's called acting for a reason.
I'm gonna quote someone that is like, he said that, and they asked, was it Rob Zombie?
Yeah.
When he was making The Devil's Rejects,
yeah.
They asked him, why does it have to be so gross? Why do the characters have to be so crude? Why do you have to show this explicit violence? And his response is, art is not safe. And that's how I feel, like, not all movies, obviously, but if you are trying to, make a specific type of movie, you have to, put yourself, or not put yourself, but you have to think these characters are negative. You have to make yourself feel like a negative person to think that. We wouldn't have a movie like American History X if someone didn't have to think of what those characters would say or do. Is that really how those people feel about those characters?
Yeah.
No, it's...
Well, I mean, we were even talking about earlier Schindler's List. I mean, the same thing. We wouldn't have any movies like that if anybody wasn't willing to depict that kind of stuff.
I mean, Mel Gibson doesn't believe that actually happened. So,
Yeah.
so going back full circle.
No, but yeah. Highly recommend.
Yeah. On a scale of Jennifer Carpenter's Missing Fingers, 1 to 10.
Anyways, that's all I got. Terrible.
All right. Well, we'll be back soon. We don't know when, but let us know if there's something y'all want to listen to or see or hear. Have a good one.